An explosion rocks an underground London train station. A massive manhunt is underway for the suspect. Police are calling the incident an act of terrorism. How Muslim relief workers helping victims of Hurricane Irma are giving back. And in our Music Makers segment, French rapper Mohamed H.A.D. Silla and his Afro trap sound. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. A major manhunt is underway in London on Friday for the perpetrator of the triggered explosion at the Parsons Green subway station. At least 18 people were injured, many with burns. Authorities are treating the incident as an act of terrorism. Police quickly descended on the underground station on the city's west side following the early morning blast on a packed rush-hour commuter train. London police say an improvised explosive device was the source of the explosion and fire. Media reports say the explosion at Parsons Green started a stampede. Many witnesses described a scene of panic. Photos taken inside the train show a white plastic bucket inside a supermarket shopping bag. Flames and what appear to be wires can also be seen. Police say it's too early to draw any conclusions and added that their investigation is being supported by input from MI5, Britain's domestic intelligence agency.
And at this stage, we are treating the matter as a terrorist-related incident, and the Metropolitan Police Counter-Terrorism Command will take responsibility for that investigation. At this stage, it's a little early to draw any full conclusions as to what the circumstances and cause of that explosion are, and we are investigating and exploring that at the moment.
British Foreign Minister Boris Johnson appealed for calm and said it was important not to speculate. London Mayor Sadiq Khan said the British capital will never be intimidated or defeated by terrorism. London has been hit by a series of terror attacks this year, all striking so-called soft targets like transport hubs and pedestrian walkways. Now, for the latest details on the attack, correspondent Henry Ridgewell joins us live from London. Now, Henry, can you please get us up to speed on what you're hearing about the investigation so far?
Well, police still haven't identified any suspects yet. It may be that they have names and identities in their own mind, but they haven't made them public yet. I think the course of the investigation is focusing on two areas. The first will be the security cameras. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of them across London, so officers will be tracking through those, trying to trace and identify a face who brought that suspect package onto the train carriage, and try to trace them backwards and forwards to try to find out who they are and where they might be now. The second line of inquiry will be looking at the bomb itself. As you describe, it was a white bucket inside a plastic shopping bag, which officers say appears not to have detonated properly. So I think we've got away with far less a serious incident than we would have done otherwise. What happened to the package was that it just caught fire, effectively set off a lot of heat and noise, but it didn't explode in the way that the perpetrator intended. And so police do have a lot of forensic evidence on the scene that they can work through to try to establish who planted it, where he may have got the materials, and ultimately if he or she is working alone or part of a wider terror network.
Now, Mayor Khan says that Britons will not be intimidated by terrorism, but the fact is that it's becoming so often to hear about these attacks. Do people generally feel that they are safe to travel around town, or do they have issues with the level of security that is being employed out there by the government?
Whenever there's an incident like this, of course, it brings to the forefront of people's minds the everyday dangers that exist living in a city like London. But millions of people use the London Underground rail network every day, the bus network, the train network. As you say, there have been a series of attacks this year, the most serious being at London Bridge, where the terrorists launched attack on passers-by with knives and drove into pedestrians on the side of the walkway at London Bridge. It is impossible for authorities to completely make the whole of London's travel infrastructure safe, and I think most Londoners, most people here accept that that is the case, and they have to get on with their lives as normal. The only reassurance that police and security services really can offer is that they say their level of intelligence suggests that large-scale terror attacks, the likes of which we saw in the 1990s and early 2000s, are now less likely because of their intelligence they have, but they do still face this everyday threat.
Henry, thank you very much for the update. That's Henry Ridgewell reporting live from London. Now to the continent. In Nigeria, ethnic tensions have surfaced in the last few months amid calls for a separate southeastern state known as Biafra. The military presence in southeastern Nigeria has increased recently to crack down on what authorities say is crime. The tension over Biafra echoes the build-up to a civil war over the secession of the era in 1967. Over 1 million people were killed in a 3-year conflict which ended in Nigeria's victory. Now, the renewed calls for Biafran secession prompted President Muhammadu Buhari to use his first speech after returning from 3 months of medical leave in Britain in August to say Nigeria's unity was not negotiable. Well, now for more on the situation in Biafra, I'm joined in studio by Jumai Ali. She's a VOA House editor. Now, Jumai, we've been hearing conflicting reports on the ground. Tell us, what are you getting from there? What are you hearing about the real state of affairs in Biafra?
The reports we're getting is that things are beginning to return to normal. For example, in Abia State, the governor has extended the curfew. And you know the incident in Jos yesterday, which started by somebody posting a story on the social media. And you know how people are. Then people started, saying they are killing our brothers in the east, so we have to retaliate. So the governor quickly imposed curfew in Jos. And today, which is Friday, the Minister of Interior, Abdurrahman Dambazo, visited Jos, where he held a meeting with the governor. And the governor also met with community leaders, in which he appealed to them to help the government in dealing with those causing trouble. And then the latest one we had is that the military has branded the IPOB movement as a terrorist organization. If you know, there are 3 of them. MASOP and IPOB and the other one. Now, it seems as if there is...
Now, there are other reports, and of course social media is playing a big role in this, reports that government soldiers are killing, executing citizens. Have you gotten anything that is really close to validating those kind of claims?
Which, the military will deny. Actually, the military say all they are trying is to maintain law and order. They deny that they are killing anybody. And then the Inspector General of Police met today with the Vice President, Yemi Osibanjo, in which he told the Vice President that they are going to deploy police all over the country to maintain law and order. The problem is that when people hear or see things on social media, they don't wait to confirm it. They just take laws into their hands. That is the problem we're facing.
So social media is playing a big role in spreading stories that are not substantiated and can cost. But very quickly, are we seeing more of clashes between civilian groups, or are there more of clashes between the groups and the government security forces?
Actually, I would say it's both ways. Because, like I say, reprisal attacks, counter-attack, and then the military will come in. And as we heard today, there was some shooting at Kanu's house, which we cannot confirm. Some people are saying that his parents are in the house and he's not there. But the good thing about this whole thing is that leaders like the Sultan of Sokoto, the governors in Southeast met, and all are calling on their people to be calm. So this is the good thing about this whole thing, that all the stakeholders are coming out to call for people. It's like whether we like it or not, we have to live together.
So, in other words, and in a few seconds, it doesn't seem like there's a really strong or possibility of a successful secession of Biafra to becoming another country. No,
I don't think it will happen.
On the ground, no.
Yes, yeah. And actually, some of the people are accusing Kanu during the Civil War that he's just a baby, so he doesn't know anything about what will happen.
He's not aware of what happened in 1967.
Happened, yeah. Yes.
And we hope there will be peace in that region. Jumai, thank you very much for joining us today on the show. Well, that's Jumai Ali, who's a VOA House editor. Now, the United Nations says it is looking into allegations that complaints of sexual abuse and exploitation made against its peacekeepers in the conflict-torn Central African Republic were mishandled or unreported. The UN's 10,000-strong mission in Central African Republic has been dogged by accusations of sex abuse since it deployed in 2014 to curb fighting between mainly Muslim Seleka rebels and the Christian militias. Internal UN case files handed to Code Blue, a campaign by a non-government organization seeking greater accountability for UN troops, detail 14 initial fact-finding inquiries into complaints made against the peacekeepers from 9 nations. A UN spokesman told reporters in New York on Thursday that while he did not believe the leaked files were a representative sample, the UN is taking steps to address any allegations that come to light.
We look into each and every case that is reported to us and follow on our established investigative protocols. Sometimes there is not enough evidence to pursue an investigation. If more evidence is presented in the future, the case is reopened. We are committed to transparency on all cases. Every single credible allegation that is reported to us is made public on our website, and we're obviously looking into the allegations brought to light by Code Blue.
Well, in December 2015, an independent review panel criticized the United Nations for grossly mishandling allegations of child sexual abuse and rape by international peacekeepers in 2013 and 2014 in the Central African Republic. Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends also. And find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCorry. Now coming up, for Muslim relief workers, faith and charity unite. Stay with us.
Wherever you are, Voice of America is on air, reaching more than 130 million weekly, worldwide, in more than 40 languages. Online, social media, and breaking news from around the world. On the go, dozens of new features on popular platforms with new apps and trending topics. Voice of America, on air, online, on the go.
U.S. President Donald Trump's deal with congressional leaders to protect hundreds of thousands of young immigrants from being deported years after their parents illegally brought them into the United States is tied to him getting what he wants for border security, including upgrades for the existing border wall. President Trump spoke briefly to reporters after returning from Florida to survey the damage caused by Hurricane Irma.
We're renovating large sections of walls. It'll be brand new by the time we finish. We're building samples of 4 different walls in order to make the choice. And after the choice is made, we'll either have it in budget or someplace. And if the Democrats aren't going to approve it, then we're not going to do what they want. So I think it'll work out. We're working on a deal for DACA, but a lot has to do with the amount of security. We want very heavy security at the border.
Well, Trump's remarks came not long after he said on Twitter that he had not cut a deal with the top House and Senate Democratic leaders on the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program that the Trump administration rescinded last week while giving Congress 6 months to vote on the issue. Well, for more on the president's DACA deal negotiations with the Democratic leadership, here's VOA's Zlatitsa Hoke.
Protests against eliminating protection for immigrants covered under DACA have taken place across the country. President Trump met with Senate and House Democratic leaders late Wednesday to discuss a solution. But after the meeting, he said any deal with the Democrats would have to include their approval of massive border security, including a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico.
We have to have a wall. If the wall is going to be obstructed, when we need the funds at a little bit later date, we'll be determining how much we need. Then we're not doing anything. Right?
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and her Senate counterpart Chuck Schumer issued a joint statement Thursday saying they agreed with Trump that funding for the wall would not be part of a deal on DACA. Pelosi told reporters the two Democratic leaders reached an agreement with Trump to continue working toward a permanent solution for the so-called Dreamers, who are protected under the temporary measure.
We had an agreement to move forward, in our view, with the DREAM Act as the basis for how we protect the Dreamers and for further discussions on what provisions relating to the border might be in an accompanying bill.
A leading Republican in Congress, House Speaker Paul Ryan, made it clear that border security would have to be a part of any DACA deal.
You cannot fix DACA without fixing the root cause of our problem. We do not have control of our borders. So we need border security and enforcement as part of any agreement. I think that's something the Democrats are beginning to understand. I think that's something that they're beginning to agree with.
But Trump also indicated in his tweets that he is not eager to throw out good, educated and accomplished young people who, as he said, have been in our country for many years through no fault of their own. Zlatitsa Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
When Hurricane Irma slammed the Florida coast, the Islamic Circle of Northern America arranged shelter. After it passed, they provided relief. Its volunteers, made up of immigrant and non-immigrant Muslim and non-Muslims, has opened minds and hearts wherever they go to their shared desire to give back to America.
When Abdul Rauf Khan's U.S.-born son became a teenager, he asked his father, a Pakistani immigrant, "What have you done for this country?" It has stuck with him ever since.
For myself, I want to make sure I have a legacy for my own children, coming up behind me. They want to take this country as a blessing and say this country has given us a lot. We have to give back to the country and make sure we can secure that. And should be our proud being Muslim living in America.
Khan has made a living of going where natural disasters strike, whether Hurricane Harvey in Texas or Irma in his home state of Florida. Over the years, he says that providing direct relief and opening the doors of mosques in times of need has opened minds about what it means to be Muslim.
They felt like this is what we felt when we go to church, we would go to synagogue.
During and after Hurricane Irma, volunteers from the Islamic Circle of North America traveled from one affected area to another, removing limbs from fallen trees and helping to make affected locals' lives a bit easier. Aksachima says her faith and a desire to constantly give back are closely linked.
Maybe if I help one person and someone sees me helping that person, they'll be like, hey, you know what? It felt nice to bring a smile on that person's face. I can help them too.
It's that compassion that unites Muslim and non-Muslim volunteers.
If it's moving a cup stuff, but you help it do something. So anything you help, you know in your heart you did something to help another person.
As Florida begins the long process of rebuilding, Khan and his team plan to be there and help their neighbors every step of the way. Ramon Taylor, VOA News, Cooper City, Florida.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the sounds of French rapper Mohamed MHD Sila. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines.
In the Central African Republic, the UN says it's investigating allegations that complaints of sexual abuse and exploitation made against its peacekeepers in CAR were mishandled or unreported. In the Mediterranean, hundreds of migrants of mainly African origin rescued at sea from a rubber dinghy that had departed from the coast of Libya. In Namibia, local authorities and businesses pushed for increased investment in tourism, with more international visitors choosing the country as their holiday destination. In South Africa, a new museum of contemporary African art is set to open in Cape Town.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. Now, the Series 3 Apple Watch is creating major buzz. The new version features built-in cellular to the world's #1 watch. Whether users are out for a run at the pool or just trying to be more active throughout their day, Apple Watch Series 3 allows the wearer to stay connected, make calls, receive texts, and more, even without an iPhone nearby. The third-generation watch includes intelligent coaching features, water resistance up to 50 meters, and a new barometric altimeter that measures relative elevation. Well, next up, bridal dresses and wedding fashion dominated the catwalks as the three-day Fashion Pakistan Week Winter Festival 2017 got underway in Karachi this week. Now, the collections mixed traditional embroidery and motifs and blended with modern silhouettes. A color palette were inspired by Starry Night, starting off from the blacks and went into the deep hues of blues and yellows. Bridal formal and semi-formal collections dominated the opening day, inspired by Gothic and rich color palette with color combinations like maroons, blacks, and gold for the winter season. Well, and finally, visitors to Frankfurt's IAA Motor Show are getting a glimpse of the future of London's iconic taxis. The London EV company, or Levis, which is owned by Chinese automaker Geely, is showcasing a new high-tech hybrid taxi cab that is set for London streets later this year. This all-new TX model is based on e-City technology, comprising a battery electric powertrain with a range extender. Levis says this enables a range of over 400 miles between charges and over 70 miles purely on zero emission and electric power. And that is what is trending today. Welcome back. In our music segment today, we introduce Mohamed Sila, best known as MHD. Now, to tell us more about the artist, I'm joined by VOA's RM Show music host, Roger Muntu. Roger, welcome once again.
Hey, man. Vince, what's trending? I love those cars.
Thank you.
I want one.
You want to get one of us? But, you know, this guy might get them before you.
Oh, really? Before me? Well, I can't afford it right now.
MHD. Tell us a little bit about this guy. First, you say he's French. What is the background of his parents?
Right, so he's French because he was born in France, but his parents are from Guinea and from Senegal. Dad is from Guinea, mom is from Senegal. So he's one of those French kids who were born listening to rap, wanted to copy American rap, couldn't make it, wanted to copy French rap. Really, it's like, no. It's not yours. So now he's doing a mix of what he call Afro rap.
Afro rap.
Yeah, and it's going all over. Like, this kid is right now, as we speak, one of the #1 artists in France.
Really?
Yes, and he's coming here to DC this week.
So, Afro rap or Afro... Yeah, Afro rap.
Yeah.
Let's see how this sounds like. This it calls it #5 or something.
Exactly,
it's like
#5.
A bunch of them.
That's right. Exactly.
Let's watch this one.
Let's see.
All right.
On reconnaît les bâtards qui parlent que par intérêt. Enfoiré, tout penser ne donne. Apprends tes marchés, il est tout terrain. Qui veut la bagarre? Envie ta tenue, mon gars, place au combat. On chip, pas de fatigue, paye, j'encaisse. Mon banque qui va gérer mes vêtements. MHD, ça tue pour les mecs de la rue. Je pense de mon délai, c'est pas si t'as vu. Hey mon ami, c'est bon l'enfant à qui fait bouger ta ville. Marseille, Bordeaux, Lille, Strasbourg, Nantes, Paris, Bali. Faut que les jaloux, j'y m'en va vie. À 11h, je vis ça à Barbara. Gâté, appétit, on se barre, j'ai la boule du Brésil. Imbécile, veux par loin d'ici. J'oublie les galères et les soucis. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit. Tout ça n'est qu'éphémère, pas les couilles si je te plais pas. Me mépriser mes gars, faut mes playbacks. Ça me fait bizarre quand je vois les gens danser sur la moula. Ouais, je bec, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe? J'ai pris du galon depuis la partie 1. Oh, j'ai pas quitté le texte, la rue, la vraie. Appétit là, connais pas la porte-terre. On se titulaire et c'est moi qui le passe. Tu passes, tu parles, on sait que tu ne passes pas. J'ai plus de cellulaire quand la ligne est restreinte. Gâté, appétit, on se barre, j'ai la moula du Brésil. Imbécile, veux par loin d'ici. J'oublie les galères et les soucis. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit. Gâté, appétit, on se barre, j'ai la moula du Brésil. Imbécile, veux par loin d'ici. J'oublie les galères et les soucis. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit.
So two things here. First,
such a catchy beat, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
So the thing is this like his original thing, or there a group of other people doing this Afro trap?
Well, let me put it this way. Some other kids are starting that, African descent, who are in France right now, because they're finding out that they cannot just rap in French without using the roots, the music from what they come from. And he's from Guinea, mom's from Senegal, so he's going back to bring those beats, and you can tell by the beats that it's not a rap beat, really, it's a mixed beat. That's
and my French is limited to about 2 words. So what is he singing? What is it rapping about?
He's saying pretty much is like, look, you cannot fight me. I can't fight and make a living. I can try hard and make a living myself. I don't need you to tell me what to
just
do.
Make it, even if it's in France.
Exactly. If in France, say, hey, but at least try.
So he's coming over here.
He's coming over. Yeah, he's in D.C. And as I was telling you, that this kid really just started making this as a joke. He was not. He wasn't thinking about doing this as a career. He made this as a joke and put it on YouTube, and it went viral. So a few record company called him and say, look, we like what you're doing. We want to produce.
That's cool, man.
And look, he's on top of the world.
That's impressive.
Yeah, he's in DC, and that's going to be really, really full.
Amazing. And I know we can talk forever about some of this things, but let's give our viewers more time to listen to all this. So thank you very much for joining us once again. That's Roger Munter. To learn more about Roger Munter himself and his VOA radio show, just visit Facebook and type in the keywords RM Show, VOA, and get more information about some of his featured artists. And that's our show. We want to leave you now with more of Afro Trap by MHD. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.
Tout ça n'est qu'éphémère, pas les couilles si je te plais pas. Me mépriser mes gars, faut mes playbacks. Ça me fait bizarre quand je vois les gens danser sur la moula. Ouais, je bec, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe? J'ai pris du galon depuis la partie 1. Oh, j'ai pas quitté le texte, la rue, la vraie. Appétit là, connais pas la porte-terre. On se titulaire et c'est moi qui le passe. Ça passe, tu parles, on sait que tu ne passes pas. J'ai plus de cellulaire quand la ligne est restreinte. Gâté, appétit, on se barre, j'ai la moula du Brésil. Imbécile, veux par loin d'ici. J'oublie les galères et les soucis. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit. Gâté, appétit, on se barre, j'ai la moula du Brésil. Imbécile, veux par loin d'ici. J'oublie les galères et les soucis. Gâté, appétit, gâté, appétit, appétit.
Welcome to English in a Minute. When something loses its original shape or form, it does not look very natural or comfortable.
Bent out of shape.
Hey, did you tell Greg about my dinner party?
Yeah, I did. I thought he was invited.
Well, now he's all bent out of shape because I didn't invite him.
I'm sorry.